A good Woch. I'm sure that everybody had a wonderful Shabbos, Simchadige Shabbos, the Shabbos where the Rebbeinu wanted us to have this Shabbos, the circumstances that we're in, and the Rebbeinu should accept all our tefillas always and see our Simcha and Kiyum HaMitzvahs. I'd like to say one thing before we start, something I meant to say Erev Shabbos, which I didn't say at the end. Just quickly say it now. We know that today was Parshas HaChodesh, besides the Parshas HaYaakov V'Kudei, it was Parshas HaChodesh. And in Parshas HaChodesh, which is in Parshas Boi, and probably so we're experiencing Gulas Mitzrayim. The first mitzvah they got was HaChodesh is Elochem Reish Chadoshim, and the Psukim tell us about Korban Pesach. The Pasuk tells us, "Va'ochlu et habosar b'layla hazeh tzli eish u'matzois al miroizim yochluhu." The word is yochluhu. The Pasuk says, "Yit matzois al miroizim yochluhu." The Balatudim on that Pasuk, the Balatudim says that the word yochluhu is brought 4 times in Tanakh. And this Balatudim does this often. He compares different words in different psukim, the word, same word in different psukim. And he says it 4 times, he says the word Yechlu. 2 times in the Negei the Korban Pesach, 1 time over here and 1 time in the Midbar. The 3rd time it says the word Yechlu in the Negei, Aron Uvonav Yechlu, discussing the Miluim. In the Shivas Yimei HaMiluim, which we are in right now. The Shivas Yimei HaMiluim are from Chof Gimel Adar until the Chodesh Nisan. When Klal Yisrael were assembling the Oyel Moed, and over there it says in the Pasuk that mi Pesach Oyel Moed Lo Seitzu, that Aaron Ubonov, when they were assembling the Oyel Moed, they were confined and they had to stay by the Oyel Moed and not leave for 7 days. Hochanami, over here too, in the Pasuk by Gulas Mitzrayim, it says, Va'atem Lo Seitzu Ish mi Pesach Beisoi. Klal Yisrael, before they left Mitzrayim, had to stay in the house. They weren't allowed to leave their house for the time that the Rebbeinu was bringing the Gefer on the Mitzrayim of Makis Bechodes. Klal Yisrael had to stay in the house. And the 4th time that it says the word Yechlu, it says about Turim, is the Osed Lovei. Ki me'asofal Yechlu, the Pasuk says in Yeshaya, the Iskish Geula Achroina LeGeula Rishona. Just like the Geula Rishona had this concept, so too the Geula Achroina, the Geula Shela Osid that we are experiencing, we're going to experience the Geula from this Golus that we're in, will have the same concept. That's what the Baal Turim brings in the parasha that we learned today. Those learned it from the Chumash. The Baal Turim brings this. It's actually a pasuk in Yeshaya as well, discussing the Geula Hasidah. The pasuk says in Yeshaya in Perek Chovav pasuk Chof, discussing the Geula, Leich Ami Boi Bechaderecho, Usegor Delosecho, Ba'adecho, Chavi Kemat Rega Ad Yavor Zam. Klal Yisrael, you should go into your rooms, close your doors, and wait until the storm passes. And this is a description of what the Geula Hasidah is going to look like. So, the Eibishter himself, we should be zeicher to see and experience the Geula, the birth pangs of Geula Hasidah we are certainly experiencing. We should be zeicher to see the actual Leida Samashiach and Leida and the Geula Hasidah. In the Parshas HaChodesh Bechlal, that we learned the Parshas HaChodesh, this is the Tzvi of Klal Yisrael. The description of Klal Yisrael, the first mitzvah Klal Yisrael received was the concept of HaChodesh as Elochem Reish Chadoshim. We are a people of Chidush. Umay Sa'olam work on Shana. They go with the solar system. They count and they run their lives year by year. And Shana is a Lashon of Hisyashnus of again and again. There's no newness. There's no refreshing. There's no rejuvenation. It's all the same again and again and again. That's the word Shana. The word Chodesh that we run, you can go with the calendar of the lunar calendar. We go with the month. Probably the Rebbeinu told us that the first thing the Rebbeinu told us was HaChodesh az Elochem Reish Chadoshim. We work with Chodesh. We work with Chiddush. Our concept is Chadshus. We constantly have to rejuvenate and renew and refresh and make the freshness in everything that we do. And it's hard. It's hard. We're regular human beings, and we get into a rut and we get into a mitzvahs anoshim with the mother. We constantly do mitzvahs and run our lives yesterday the way we did it the day before, tomorrow we do it the way we do it today, next week like today, this year like last year. It's hard to make the rejuvenation and refreshness in everything we do. But we're supposed to. And the concept of Pesach being a Chodesh HaOviv is that idea that the world rejuvenates in Chodesh HaOviv. The trees start to blossom, the world gets new, the world refreshes, and Pesach is always that time of the year that we have that Mitzias, that Yisoid of refreshing. It seems that the Rebbe is giving us a opportunity to do that, the chush. He's pressing the reset button. Everything is shutting, everything is closing, we're going to come out of this with a freshness, with a newness. It will start again. We're going to start again with a newness, not in the same rut that we always were. Hashem is giving a pause. We're going to start again in Yitzhak Hashem. It should be with Mashiach, it should be with the Gula HaSidah. But however it's going to be with a freshness. And that's the way we have to look at it. The Rebbe is giving us an opportunity. To use the matzah that it is for our benefit, for our milas, for what we're supposed to use it for. And of course, like always, the only way we're able to accomplish anything is with simcha. There's no way to accomplish anything without simcha, without joy, without atzvus, and with a dejected feeling. There's no accomplishment whatsoever. Growth is always only through simcha. Like Misham Shafal Hirsch writes, simcha has the same word as semicha. The sin and the tzaddik are interchangeable. Growth, the word semicha, is interchangeable with the word simcha because growth only accomplished through simcha. So we go through whatever we go through, as difficult as it is. Sometimes we go through it with simcha and with joy, and we'll be zeicha to accept the Yom Tov of Pesach that's coming with gewaldige simcha, because it is a Yom Tov of simcha. We say it's a Yom Tov of simcha, Ul Yom Tov and Yom Tov of simcha, and we'll be zeicha to be meichen for the Yom Tov with the gewaldige Freiligkeit. So we'll talk about being meichen for the Yom Tov. The hachana for the Yom Tov has to be, like we said, has to be joyful. The Rebbe Shalom gave us mitzvahs, and He gave us hanogis, He gave us chiyuvim, but they are pleasant. The Rebbe Shalom made His way sweet and pleasant, and it's not supposed to be a burden. And it isn't a burden, if done properly. This year, more than any year, we're going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the chiyuv of what we're mechuyev to do. The chiyuv of what we're mechuyev to do is to bring in Yom Tov in a joyful way. This year, literally with our children underfoot, with our families around, and they're going to see exactly how we're bringing in the Yom Tov. How much of a stress it's going to be on ourselves, how much of a stress we're going to create in the house and on the family, or how pleasant we're going to make it. How pleasant we're going to create the experience of making Yom Tov. For those that are making Yom Tov for the first time, it can be done that way. For those that have made Yom Tov in the past probably already know that it can be done that way. But we'll reiterate it again to see how it can be done that way, in a way that everybody will enjoy not only the Yom Tov, they'll even enjoy the Hachanas of the Yom Tov, so that we should come into the Yom Tov with the Simcha, because this Yom Tov is a Yom Tov of Chinuch. The Yom Tov of Pesach, we all know, is the Yom Tov of Chinuch, the Yom Tov that we say Tzvi Mitzrayim to your children. Shalach bincha mocha leimah. This is the Yom Tov of being mechanech our children. So the chanech of the Yom Tov has to be in such a way as well that the children are nischanech in the proper way of simcha b'kiyum hamitzvos, the attitude, the atmosphere, the feeling of how wonderful it is to make Yom Tov and to accept any circumstance that maybe are not l'chatchila, but certainly in a simcha-dik way. Okay, enough out of me. Let's go to the Haktomis now. The basic idea of making Yom Tov for Pesach. We're going to give 3 Haktomis. We'll have these 3 Haktomis, these 3 introductions to the idea of making Pesach. We'll be able to run through the house quickly, and everything will be able to work very, very, very well. We'll see how very, very quickly and easily we'll be able to turn over, as they say, our house for Yom Tov. Number 1 is, there are 2 Isurim when it comes to Issa Chometz on Pesach. There's one Issa of Issa Bal Yiro Bal Yimotzi, which includes in it the Chiyuv of Tashbisu, meaning that we're not allowed to own Chometz on Pesach. And from there, we have a chiyuv to destroy any chometz that we own, to destroy it before Pesach. That is the chiyuv of Bal Yiro, Bal Yemotzi. The second issue is, there's an issue of Achilas Chometz. There's Achilas on Pesach. So we have one issue of owning Chometz, we have one issue of eating Chometz. So let's talk about the first one first. The issue of Bal Yiro, Bal Yemotzi, and the Achilas of destroying it. When HaTorah, the way we get rid of Chometz before Pesach is very simple. We stand up on Erev Yom Tov and we say, any chometz that's in my house, I am considering it ownerless, I'm being mevatel it, I'm being mafkid it, ke'afshe da'ara, and that's it. I'm done. I don't have to clean, I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is be mevatel any chometz that I own, and that's finished. It's done, and that's all. The Chazal came along and they said, that's not so simple. What's going to happen when a person does that? A person is only a person, and even if he says that he's going to be mevatel chometz, and he means it fully, he really, really means it, he's going to open his cabinet on Pesach to take out a box of matzahs, and next to it, sitting there, is going to be a cookie, there's going to be a cracker, and he's going to come to eat it. We're afraid that he's going to find a glus kayofa, a chometz item that looks delicious, and he's going to eat it. So Chazal say, it's not enough to be mevatel it, you also have to get rid of it. Another reason why Chazal said that it's not enough to be mevatel, but that we're afraid that a person is not going to mean it in the full sense. He's going to say, I'll be mevatel mechometz, but he knows that he has a freezer full of goodies, he knows he has a cabinet full of leftover cookies and all other chometz items, and he's not going to fully mean the bittul in his heart, and therefore that's not going to be what the Torah tells us to do. It tells us to be mevatel, and it's not going to be mevatel properly, and therefore they said it's not enough to be mevatel, you have to be mevayer, you have to get rid of it as well. Either way, there's two reasons, but either way, whatever it is, the bottom line is we have now a chiv d'rabbanan, that besides for being mevatel our chometz, that we're mekayim the chiv d'oraisa, we have now a chiv d'rabbanan to be mevayer our chometz. That means to get rid of our chometz physically, take our chometz and get it out of the house. Chazal tell us as well that there are types of chometz that are in the house that are pirudim. They're very small, they're crumbs, and these are types of things that a person will not come to eat on Pesach. They're dirty. They might be still edible, but they're sitting in the corner under your bed someplace with a lint on it, and it's possible to eat it, but it's not usual, not regular. A regular person will not bend down and pick that up and put it in his mouth. So both reasons don't apply. The first reason that he might come to find it on Pesach and eat it doesn't apply because he wouldn't. He doesn't usually eat such things. He's not going to come to eat it on Pesach. The second reason that he's not going to have full kavanah and full das to be mevatel it also doesn't apply because he certainly will. So for such items, the bittul by itself works. Therefore, I have no reason to clean for that on Pesach, before Pesach. Something that's considered in a person's eyes as garbage is no chiyuv b'dikas chometz. There's no chiyuv cleaning for chometz, and we're not going to have to clean for that on before Pesach for chometz. That's the first hakdama, the negei the halacha bal yiro bal yemotzi. The second hakdama is that we'll talk about the Achilles chometz afterwards. First, we're talking about the issue of bittul of bal yiro bal yemotzi. We'll come back here to talk about the Achilles chometz. The second hakdama is that Shulchan Aruch brings that if a person has chometz and it's roy, it's edible, it's a nice cookie, it's bigger than a kizayis, or even if it's smaller than a kizayis, it's irrelevant the size. The point being that it's big enough that a regular person would bend down, would pick it up, it's clean, and it's edible, it's something that a person would eat. But it's in a place where it's not accessible. It's in a deep bar, and he has to take a ladder to go get it, and it's not in a place where he would come to eat it on Pesach. So they say that this as well is included in the bittul the liboy, because again, the two reasons we said, we're because he might not have in mind properly when he was mevatel, or he might come to find it on Pesach. If it's in a place where it's not accessible for him on Pesach, without exerting himself, without looking to go there and try to get it, then we're not afraid that he's going to go there on Pesach, and we're not afraid that he's not going to have the proper kavanah when he's mevatel. So most of those don't have bars or pits and places to go with your ladders to go down and get it, but we do have behind the stove, behind the refrigerator, behind the washing machine, places that we never move, places that we don't usually access. So not only don't you have to check to see if there's chametz there, even if you knew there was chametz there, you don't have to move it, you don't have to check there, you don't have to clean there. That place is not considered a place that is necessary to clean for Pesach. All you have to do, which every Rosh Habayis does, he stands up on Erev Pesach and he says, Kol chamira v'chamira deke b'rishusi, any chametz that's in my house, I'm being mevatel, now hefker after the aleph. He's going to do that, and that's going to work for those places, and you're not mechuyev to move those places. You'll leave those places alone, unless those places were moved. If you did move them within 30 days before Pesach, so then we say it's accessible, you just moved it. So then you're mechuyev to move it to make sure there's no chametz there. Besides for that, one is not mechuyev to move those places. The third hakdama, the third introduction is mechiras chametz, and that is through the Deiros, for whatever reason it started, and for whatever reason it evolved into exactly what it is, it became the minig in Klal Yisrael that besides for cleaning for Pesach, and besides for bittul chametz, and besides for beer chametz, we also sell our chametz. And started really as a cooler to try to get rid of items that were for some reason not possible to get rid of, even through the Deiros that owned the taverns and on inns that had huge quantities of schnapps. That was the whole livelihood. And they used to sell that because otherwise they were going to lose their whole panos. From there, it became the minute that everybody sells the chametz. Some people sell chametz gomer, some people don't sell chametz gomer, but either way, everybody sells the chametz. Included in the sale of chametz, whether or not you sell chametz gomer, you don't sell chametz gomer, included in there is any chametz that you own, even if you don't know about it. So if a person has a cabinet, and in that cabinet there's chametz items, he sells the whole cabinet with the chametz items inside of it. He actually doesn't sell the whole cabinet, he sells the chametz in the cabinet, but he rents the cabinet to the guy, and he sells all the chametz within that cabinet. Even if he doesn't sell real chametz, he still sells the areas, or he sells any chametz that might be in those places. So he could be selling all the possible chametz in the cabinet. And then before Pesach, you're going to lock up, you're going to put a piece of tape on this drawer, put a piece of tape on that cabinet, put a piece of tape on that drawer, and all the chametz that are in those places are sold to the goy. So now, not only do you have to not clean there, you don't even have to look in there before Pesach. Any place that's going to have been sold to the goy for Pesach is going to the goy for Pesach. Whether or not your minig, if you call it that, is to sell chametz gomer or not, any place that's going to be closed up and written on the outside, sold to goy, is unnecessary completely to check there before Pesach to see if there's any chametz in there, because it's ridiculous. Imagine somebody sells chametz gomer. So he has a cabinet, in there they keep all the noodles, the lokshin, all the chametz items fully stocked with cookies and all sorts of granola bars and everything else that they're selling. That's chametz stick, and they're selling it. So before Pesach, they want to go clean. They clean up the whole cabinet and they put back all the chametz items and they close the door and they say sold to goy. For what reason did they clean it in the first place? The chametz is there anyways, and that chametz is going to be sold to the goy. So just like that chametz is sold to the goy, the crumbs that they cleaned up on the back of the shelf is also sold to the goy. There was no reason to clean it in the first place. Even somebody that doesn't sell chametz gomer, the crumbs on the shelf, anything that's on the shelf, if it's not pieces of chametz that's kezayis worth, everybody sells. There's no minig in Klal Yisrael not to sell that. So there's no reason to clean any of those types of places. So now we have the basic three introductions. When it comes to this Achilles comment, we're going to have to go back and discuss it in a more. But basically, throughout the house now, we're going to have a very simple concept. We're going to be cleaning for any chametz that's edible by regular human beings, and there's a chashash that a person would either not have in mind when he says bittul, or a chashash that a person might come to eat it on Pesach if he finds it, and it's in a place that is not sold to a goy. So let's let us go through some items. For instance, in your pantry, you have a challah tray, you have a mixer, you have cookbooks, you have benches, you have baking utensils, you have a toaster, you have a microwave, you have an extra oven, you have an extra refrigerator. All these types of items, you're not using them at Pesach. I certainly hope you're not using them at Pesach. You're not using your challah tray, you're not using your bash and your mixer and your bencher and your cookbooks and your baking utensils. You're not using any of this stuff. You'll put it into a cabinet, and that cabinet will say on the outside, will close with tape that says sold to goy, and that'll be that. It'll be done. Your cleaning for Pesach on all these items shouldn't take you any longer than it takes to pick it up and put it into the cabinet that says sold to goy. Or you don't even have to do that. Just close the cabinet that it's presently in and write on it sold to goy. And you can do that to your entire kitchen almost, except for one or two cabinets that still need for Pesach. And those you'll clean out whatever's in there, and we'll talk about cleaning that soon. That's what else would you have like that? You'd have briefcases, children's briefcases. It's always a headache, but you have to clean out the children's briefcases. Why? There's no reason to. Take out the Pesach stuff, and this year, unfortunately, doesn't still have too much Pesach stuff. Take out what you need for Pesach. Take the briefcase, put it into a closet that's going to be sold to a guy, and that's it. You don't have to look in the briefcase. I think it's kedai to look inside. Make sure there's no leftover sandwiches or something. But make sure there's no kedai of chametz, no big piece of chametz, and then don't use a toothpick, and don't use a vacuum cleaner, don't use nothing. Just look inside to see if there's a piece of chametz in there, your leftover snacks, and then take the briefcase and put it into the cabinet, into the closet, and sold to a guy, and you're done, and you're finished. The same thing with anything else that you're not using on Pesach. Even toys. You want to use toys on Pesach, most toys you don't have to worry that there's chametz in them. If there's a shash, don't use those toys. Take all the toys that you're worried that you feel you have to clean, and you can put them into one cabinet, in one toy closet. That toy closet is sold to go. You take out a few toys that you need, that you feel is so important for the 7th, for the 8th days of Pesach. Excuse me. Those couple toys you take out, those you'll clean. And again, what does it mean to clean? Those toys that you're going to take out to clean means that you're going to make sure that there's no real chametz on those toys or in those toys. It shouldn't be so difficult. The only thing you have to be careful about is the negeya, those toys shouldn't end up by the food in the place where you're going to eat. But so far we're talking about only the chametz. In the places where you're going to those toys and those items, you just have to make sure there's no real chametz on them, no pieces of chametz, and it's clean, it's done, it's finished. And the other items like that. Let's see. You go through the house. Let's go start with the bedroom, let's say. All you have to do, go through your bedroom, and don't get too scared that the whole cleaning of the house is going to take you less than an hour. I apologize if I'm ruining any preconceived notions of Pesach taking 2-3 weeks. We're going to clean the house now in less than an hour. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry. We're going to go into the bedroom, and we're going to make sure that there's no real chametz anywhere. You look under the bed. You want to vacuum the floor because you can't clean space without vacuuming the floor by all means. Go vacuum the floor. You look in the drawers to make sure nobody left anything in the drawers. You look under the desk to make sure it's clean. Everything is clean. There's no real reason to assume that there's real chametz anywhere. You look around. You make sure it's all clean. You look at the shelves in the closet. You look between the clothing. Maybe some child put a cookie there. You can take a look. The size that we're looking for, the minimum size we're looking for, is the size of a Cheerio in a decent, edible condition. That's all. Anything smaller than that is not an edible condition. Say that better. Anything smaller than that, even if it's an edible condition, you don't have to be concerned. Anything larger than that, if it's not an edible condition, you don't have to clean for. And I'm not saying if you find it, by all means, take it and get rid of it and throw it out. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something that's the size of a Cheerio that's in edible condition. If you find that, that's what we're looking for, and that's what you have to get rid of. So you're going through the desk, you're going through the drawers, looking through the shelves, looking through them. You don't have to use a toothpick. You shouldn't be using a toothpick. You shouldn't be using anything. You look through it, you run your hand across it if you'd like to make sure. You run your hand across here, across there, and you're done. Any places that you feel is for some reason difficult, you could just take it and not use that place on Pesach. It's okay, unless you need that place. Clothing. In the clothing. Any clothing that went through a washing machine with detergent, any chametz that may be somewhere in that article of clothing is now considered inedible. No human being will stick their hand into a pocket that went through the wash with detergent and take out some crumbs and eat those crumbs. You don't have to worry about those. It could be like a coat for a place that wasn't washed recently, or maybe you worry about crumbs in there. It could be in such places that you should check it, because the person might unintentionally, inadvertently, put his hand in that pocket and then lick his finger with it. And that could be a problem. So those types of things maybe you should be concerned. But basically, on regular clothing, certainly clothing that went through the wash, you don't have to worry about it. The crumbs in there are dirty. They're not considered edible. They're regular human consumption, and you don't have to clean to them. Books, toys, we already mentioned. Go to we're in the bedroom. Leave the bedroom. We're in the hallway. What's in the hallway? There's nothing in the hallway. You go downstairs into the playroom. The playroom is the books. The toys again. The books. There's certainly no piece of chametz. We're going to have to be careful that we shouldn't bring those books to the table. We'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about the Isser eating for chametz. Board games. There's no chametz on board games. You want to look through a game of chess. If you're worried that maybe there's a Cheerio stuck in the bottom of the rook, maybe yeah, maybe no. If you're really concerned about that and you don't have time to check it, so no problem. Keep it in the cabinet and lock that one up. And finished and done. You don't have to worry about it. If you want to use a chess game on Pesach and you're concerned that maybe there's a Cheerio in some chess piece, well, by all means, take a couple of minutes and look through the chess pieces before. And that's about it. The couch, I think, is a place, even under the couch and behind the couch, I believe that is a place that's considered movable, unless yours is not. Most people, I think, it's light enough and it's common enough that that people move the couch, that should be moved. You should check underneath the couch to make sure there's no pieces of chametz there. Again, you're not doing a major cleaning. You're just checking. You're looking. You want to wash the floor. You're not mechuyev to. It'll probably make you feel better that you're making Pesach properly if you vacuum the floor. You can do that. You vacuum underneath the couch, by all means. The curtains, the window shades, you could look at them and tell them good yom tov. That's about it. The between the pillows, between the what's it called on the couch, the sections on the couch, run your hand in there to make sure there's no chametz. There's definitely a place where chametz could have fallen if somebody was eating on the couch, and definitely a place that the chametz could still be edible. And if you would find it on Pesach, then that's for sure you might eat it. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So between the crevices in the couch, that's the thing is yes. If it fell all the way underneath, and now it's trapped underneath, and the only way to get it is by ripping off the bottom. The way the couches are made, the bottom has a piece of material that is stapled onto the bottom. The only way to get things that fall all the way through is by ripping off that bottom. You're not supposed to do that, and you just leave it there. It's fine. You're not supposed to get in underneath. So you stick your hand in until it reaches between the pillows, between the cushions, and the sections, and you take out whatever's there. The closets in the playroom. The closet in the playroom, if you're using it on Pesach, if you're not taping it up and not using it, selling it to the guy, then by all means, you should move away the items that are in there. If there's toys in there, if there's other items in there, you have to look through that carefully to make sure there are no pieces of chametz that are in there. Pocketbook. The pocketbook is someplace that is certainly necessary to go through. There's definitely some pieces of chametz to be in there. Empty your pocketbook, make sure there's no pieces of chametz, and put everything back in. You don't need a toothpick. You don't need a vacuum cleaner. You just need to empty it and put whatever's worthy of being there in the first place back in. And you'll have to clean your pocketbook once a year. A stroller. Stroller is important. The what's it's called? The place underneath the stroller that they keep things. The baskets underneath the stroller, on the top, on the bottom, wherever you keep it, the cup holders, sort of the stuff, the place over there where things are put. By all means, you must check over there to make sure there's no chametz in there. Again, you don't need to use a toothpick. Just make sure there's no Cheerios left there. Suitcases are very important and sometimes forgotten. It's used during the year, and it definitely could be chametz in there. And you definitely, if you don't plan on using them over Pesach, if you don't plan on going anywhere this Pesach, then you'll put it in the closet that's going to be sold to the guy, and you won't touch it, you won't look at it, you won't open it up, you won't clean it. You're just going to keep it in the closet that's being sold to it, and you won't have to clean it for Pesach. But if you are afraid that you may need the suitcase, and you plan on using the suitcase, so then you'll just open it up, all the compartments of it, run your hand through all the different compartments, make sure there's no chametz in there, and then you're done. You don't need a toothpick, you don't need a vacuum net, you just need to run your hand through all the pots to make sure that there's no chametz in any of those places. That is all the negeya. If I forgot some things, the rules are the same. In any of these places that it's going to be used Pesach, or common to be used Pesach, or you can't sell it for some reason to the guy, so then you should clean it in a way that you're assuring that there's no pieces of chametz that are edible, larger than the size of a Cheerio bear, left in that place. That's all the negay, the issue about Yeror, about Yemotzi, owning chametz on Pesach. The negay eating chametz. The negay eating chametz is much, much more common. Eating chametz, Chazal say, the Torah tells us that. Should I say, maybe Chazal say, for most of the halachos, actually what I'm about to say, is that it's not enough bittul. It's not enough even to know to sell to the guy, certainly not. The issue is to actually have eaten it. How much are you not allowed to eat on Pesach? On Pesach is chomer more than any other issue. You can't eat even the tiniest amount. Tiniest amount means that there's no bittul. Means if one crumb will fall in on Pesach, that is, before Pesach, could be there is bittul depending on what we're talking about. But we're talking about on Pesach. If one crumb will fall in to any food item on Pesach, the whole food item will be chametz stick, and we're not allowed to eat that whole thing. If you have one crumb fall into a huge pot of soup, that whole pot of soup is now also to eat. And not only that, there's, even if it's dirty, even if it's something that a human being would usually not eat. If he ends up eating it, that's a problem. If it's so dirty, if it's so not roy of eating that a dog wouldn't even eat it, so then it's not considered food anymore. Then we look at it like a piece of wood. You look at it like a piece of garbage that's completely not considered in the food family. Then, even if a person will end up eating it, there's no problem at all. But the negeya, the way we were talking until now, that if it's so small, and so dirty, and so not edible, when it comes to eating chametz on Pesach, that's all the problem. So therefore, when we get to the kitchen, we have to be much, much more machmir. So that around the house, it shouldn't take you an hour. When you get to the house, when you get to the kitchen, now it may take us a bit more time, but again, not that much more time. Remember, most of the cabinets you're going to close up. You're going to put a piece of tape on them, and I'd like to mention one thing. I keep on saying you put a piece of tape on them. It's very, very important that any place you sell to the guy should be closed up in a way that no mistake is going to happen on Pesach. They end up opening it and taking out a fork, taking out a pot, taking out any chametzik utensil. That's a mistake that's not allowed to happen. It's inexcusable, we'll call it. Those places have to be closed up very, very well. It should be double sealed. It should be marked. Well, not just marked, but we are creatures of habit, and we just open the drawer that we're used to opening, and that drawer is the chametzik drawer. In fact, if there's a piece of tape on the outside that says on it chametz in big red letters, or it has on the word sold to goy, it's not going to stop us when we are spacing out and just pulling the drawer open. even one slight piece of tape sealing it closed onto the cabinet, onto the from the countertop to the drawer, could very easily just be pulled open when you're not thinking and just pulling it open. And it has to be closed in a way that's very tight. The person will not, by mistake, open the drawer, or any cabinet that is. Any place really, Shulchan Aruch said, the Gemara says it has to be locked with a lock, and you have to hide the key. That's what the Gemara says. We don't do that. That's not a discussion for tonight, for sure, why we don't do it exactly like that. But it's adequate to tape it, only if the taping is adequate. But the taping is done in a way that a person won't inadvertently open it up. It has to be taped very well. All the places that there's chametzik items in there that a person might come in to open it up and take out a chametzik item has to be taped up very, very well. That's a mistake that shouldn't happen. So most of the cabinets should be closed up. So we're already avoiding cleaning most of the kitchen. There's no reason to clean a place that you're going to sell. The most of your kitchen is already clean. The other cabinets. You have a cabinet that was the whole year had in its chametzik dishes. So now you're taking it out. That's a cabinet you need for Pesach. No problem. Take out those dishes, put it into a different cabinet in the kitchen, or put it someplace else. Now you have empty shelves because all your chametzik dishes are out of there. Before you put in anything Pesach dik, you'll wipe it down. How are you going to wipe it down? You'll wipe it down with a cleanser. Use a fantastic, a Windex, something that has some ammonia in it, anything that has something strong in it, that now you wipe it down with that item, anything that was on that shelf, even a mashu of chametz, that mashu of chametz says if it comes into my food, it's going to be an isser for me on Pesach. Once it's washed down with a cleanser that has some ammonia in it, it's not really lachilas kelet. It's garbage. Even if it will then end up in my food, I don't worry about it because it's not considered food anymore. So I don't have to take a toothpick and start going through the corners. I don't have to clean it in any other way except for taking a shmata and wiping it down. When I finished with that, in that time, I take a cleanser, I wash it down like a spritz, and I spritz all the corners, and I wipe it down, and I'm done. The cabinet is now clean for Pesach. There is a minute to put down shelf liners. There is such a minig. I'm not sure if that minig includes places where you're going to put dishes or only places where you put down food. It's okay if you are maker and you only put the shelf liner down in places where you're going to keep food. But I think most people put it down even in places where you can keep dishes. Either way, that's not going to be your department anyways. Tell your husbands to do that. If they have an issue, they should call me. Put so you spritz the cabinet, you wipe it down, you put down shelf liner, and the cabinet is clean. You do the same thing to the 2-3 cabinets you need, the drawer or 2 drawers that you need. You empty it from the chametz items, the chametz dika items. You put those chametz dika items into a place where that's going to be sold to a guy. You spritz down the drawer, spritz down the cabinet. You wipe it down, and you line it with the shelf paper, and it's clean to Pesach. You do the same thing. You do the same thing to the refrigerator. You take out whatever items. I guess it's easier to take everything out at one time. You take out whatever's in the refrigerator when you're turning over, we'll call it, and the shelves, you'll spritz them down. It's easier usually to take it out and wash it down. You do it like that. You spritz it down with a cleanser. You wipe it down. It's clean. Even if it's not perfectly clean to a crumb in the corner someplace, which would be a problem because it's a refrigerator and it's a place where we might come in contact with food, and that's a big problem on Pesach. Even the tiniest crumb coming in contact with food was going to be a problem. As long as you spritzed it with your cleanser, now it's kosher lePesach and it's fine. You don't have to be concerned. You line the refrigerator shelves with refrigerator liners, making sure that you leave some space on the side and the back because otherwise the air won't circulate and you're going to ruin your refrigerator. But you line the shelves with refrigerator liners, and you're done. The same thing, a special care should be done in the fruit and vegetable drawer and places where food itself actually touches the drawer, not just containers, not just number 13s and the different items. The food itself is going to touch is extra special care, but again, the concept is the same. That's what we can do to your entire refrigerator. Cleaning the refrigerator does not have to be a full day affair. It should take you a little while. You clean each shelf one by one, making sure that you're wiping down well with the cleanser, and put a shelf line on it, and you are done. There's a rubber gasket on the door, and all the cracks that there are in between the places in the refrigerator, by the door and on the top and on the bottom, there's lines of seams between different parts of the refrigerator. Again, the same thing. Just take a spritz those places, wipe it down. You're done. You don't have to drive yourself crazy. If you find a little hole between the rubber gasket and the you could see inside and you can see there are crumbs in there, it's fine. Nobody's getting in there on Pesach. If you want to spritz something in and see, maybe you'll hit it, maybe you won't. If you want, you can do that. It's fun. But you don't have to drive yourself crazy. That is the beginning of the refrigerator. I feel bad. Everybody's on mute over here, so in case I'm forgetting things or anyone has a question, I have no idea how to unmute anybody. I don't even know if I'm capable of doing so. If you're able to unmute yourself and ask questions, maybe at the end. I'll try to figure out how we can do that, and we'll make a question at the end. Tables, chairs. Tables and chairs, again, you don't have to clean every crack with a toothpick. You have to spritz down the whole table, and you wipe it down, and you're done. Finished. Underneath the table, places where your hand might touch when you're eating, same thing. There is a minhag by a kitchen table, not the dining table, we'll talk about that in a second, by the kitchen table, that one usually eats an entire year on the table itself, that you cover the table. Even though it's cleaned, and even though you spritz down the whole table, you cover the entire table, and you with some sort of with paper or even just a plastic tablecloth or something, you cover the whole table, you tape it down underneath, and even though it's cleaned, we cover the table, and then you can put on your tablecloth on top of it. So if it doesn't have that minhag, that's fine also. I believe that's the minhag in college. So. The dining room table, that's not necessary because I don't believe most people eat the derech klal. They do sometimes, but then the usual way of eating on a dining room table is with a tablecloth, so that's fine. Just switch your tablecloth, put on a Pesach tablecloth. If somebody doesn't own a Pesach tablecloth, once I mentioned that, in people's minds are starting to think, whoa, I don't have a Pesach tablecloth. If somebody does not have a Pesach tablecloth, l'chatchila you should, but it's okay if you don't have one, certainly the first year you're making Pesach, to wash your chametz tablecloth with detergent, wash it well, and that's okay. Then you can use the chametz tablecloth, and I would suggest use a plastic on top of that tablecloth as well, because of the minhag that we usually do have a Pesach tablecloth. So if you don't have one and you're washing your chametz stick one, then you could just use the chametz stick one. That's if it's material and it's washable. If it's plastic or leather, that's not as simple. Yes, Kashayel, if you have such a type of tablecloth. But on a regular tablecloth, you could wash it and use it. Anyway, the table itself, you don't have to, just again, doing the same thing. You're washing it, you're spritzing it, you're doing so to the underside as well, the places where people's hands could touch while they're eating, certainly in the kitchen with no tablecloth or draping over the side, on the underside of the table to make sure that even if there's tiny drops of crumbs there, once you spritz on the whole area, then it's clean, and even if it's not clean, it's not really lachilas kelev, and you don't have to be concerned about anything that's left over there. The same thing with your chairs. You have no reason to take tables with toothpicks and go through every crack and crevice on every single chair. Take your Fantastic, your Windex, whatever you're using, you Mr. Clean, and you spritz throughout the chair. You take a shmata that's wet from any of these types of cleansers, run it alongside the chair, any place there's cracks and crevices on it, the whole side, the whole length of the top and the bottom, and you are done. The chairs are now kosher l'Pesach. Your table, your chair, all kosher l'Pesach. The refrigerator, we said, the freezer is the same as the refrigerator. The floor in the kitchen. The floor in the kitchen, you could sweep it, and you could clean it, and you could run toothpicks, and you could run whatever you want, as many times as you want. The minute somebody's going to walk in from the outside with schmutz and dirt on the bottom of his shoes, which is very possible to be a little crumbs of who knows what, because if the family is outside eating chametz anyways before Pesach, it's going to get dirty again. So it's really a bracha levatol. So if you'd like to do it, and you'd like to wash your floor, then by all means, go ahead and wash your floor. But it might anyways have tiny dirt and pieces of chametz left on the floor on Pesach, and we don't care. Because v'negeya bal yirah bal yimotzei again. V'negeya only chametz, it's not edible things, it's not things that most people eat. We're not able bal yirah bal yimotzei. V'negeya eating it, don't bend down and eat anything from the floor. There is a hanhoga toiva, that's something that's falls on the floor on Pesach, you should wash off. Because with that chashash, that anything that lives on the floor, that the floor may have crumbs, that even though they're not edible, but they are really lachilas kelef, and if something falls on the floor that you end up eating, you may end up eating the little bit of chametz that's attached to it. So the floor is not necessary to go crazy. You sweep it and you're done. What else is in the kitchen? You have the oven and the stove. Oh, the other appliances. The other appliances. That's going to get kasher in the kitchen. I don't know if we really have time to talk about it tonight, but okay, I wasn't really talking about kashering. The oven is kasherable. If you own a regular oven, all you have to do is kasher it. How do you kasher it? If it's a self-clean oven, you self-clean it. Clean it first. You don't have to go crazy cleaning it. Just make sure it's basically clean. You spritz it with easy oil, and it's called clean. You run the self-clean cycle, and it's now kosher b'Pesach, including the racks that are inside. That's fine. You don't have to buy new racks. You leave the racks in there for the self-clean cycle. Your oven is now clean for Pesach. Again, there's a gasket on the outside. There's cracks and crevices. Those places you should spritz down. You should wipe them down with a cleanser, and they're done. It's a machlokes in the poskim if the door itself, the inside of the door itself, reaches the proper degrees, if it gets properly cleaned, properly kashered by running the self-clean cycle. Therefore, most poskim hold that even if you self-clean, the inside of the door with the glass window, you should cover that inside of the door with a silver foil for Pesach. Because even though you kasher the whole oven, the inside of the door may not have gotten to the degrees that self-clean does for the whole oven. It's manufactured in that way because the window may not be able to withstand the heat all the way up to this. Anyways, that's the way most places can hold it. You should cover the inside of the door with a silver foil. And then your oven is done for Pesach. It shouldn't take you all that long. Self-cleaning you're not too busy with. You press the buttons and you walk away. The stovetop. The stovetop, you have the grates. The grates are not necessary to get new grates for Pesach. You can kasher them. The way you kasher them are very simple. Either you put them into the oven on the self-clean cycle. I don't know if they will come out exactly the same. It may lose a drop of the shine or the tarnish a little bit. Certainly, if you have those rubber pieces that are on the bottom of those grates that are sitting on the stovetop, it might not do well in the oven. But it's not necessary to do that. You leave those stovetops right where they are, on top of the oven. Turn on the fire for 10 to 15 minutes. I'll give you an exact number. Put it on for 12 minutes. There you go. 13 minutes. Here we are. Good number. 13 minutes. And that kashers your grate. However, you need to spread the fire a bit because when you turn on a fire, it's only reaching one spot of the grate. So you put a blech on top of, or if you want to use, you put a blech on top of the stovetop, the top of the grates, and that will spread the heat underneath the blech. The entire grate becomes kashered. You can do that with all four grates at the top of the oven. Don't do all four at the same time. They say that it's not healthy. Not healthy meaning that there's too much gas and too much fire. It's combustible. I don't know. But you do all four in that way, and your stove is not kosher Pesach with the grates inside, the shelves inside, the grates on top are not kosher Pesach. Those little discs underneath the grates where the fire comes out of, you don't have to touch. Leave them exactly where they are, where they always were, and everything is now kosher Pesach. The stove top between the grates, the enamel, the way it is, that is not kosher Pesach. That you're going to have to cover with a silver foil. The important place is I wasn't planning on talking about all this, but once we're talking about it, I might as well. An important place is the hood underneath the what's it called, the stove hood. You know, when you're on top of the stove top, there's a stove hood. Saying the wrong word, something like that, where the smoke comes up and it could be nivla in that hood and could come back down. Oven hood, that's what it's called. And that has to be covered. The underside of it should be covered with a silver foil before Pesach, because that is not very easy to. There's nothing really else you can do with it. The backsplash by the why am I talking about backsplash? We'll get to later. No, what do we have? So we have the oven. Let me do this in some sort of semblance of order. We have the oven. We have the stovetop. We have the burner. We have the drip pans. The drip pans. Same thing. You can take those drip pans. You can put it into the oven at the same time that you're self-cleaning them. If you want, you don't have to use them on Pesach. You buy the disposable drip pans. Either way, that's fine. The only issue that you have on the stovetop, as you mentioned, in the grates, we said a kasher bowl, that's if you have a gears range. If you have an electric stovetop, then all you have to do is turn it on. You have those coils, and they get red hot, and they're fine. You don't have to leave them for too long. Just leave it a couple minutes, and it's done. The only time there is an issue is when there's a glass stovetop. There's nothing really to do. You can't kasher glass, and you can't cover the whole thing, because if you're going to cook on a glass stovetop, with it covered, it's just going to smash. So there's nothing really to do. You have to buy yourself a plug-in, a 2-burner plug-in that's not so expensive, and that's what you should do. The knobs really don't need anything. Nothing really happens. It touches the radio, all that type of stuff. But again, you should. Some of it that's always near food. You should clean it very, very well, definitely with a cleanser. And now it's done. It's completely clean for Pesach. When we say that you cover the top of your stove, by the way, we should make sure to not to cover the vent. The back of every stove has the vent that vents out from the oven. If you're going to cover that with silver foil, then you're going to break your oven. The heat will get trapped in there, and it's going to break the oven. Make sure that the vent is properly ventilating, not covered at all. The microwave, we try not to kasher. Really necessary for somebody, you can ask a shayla, but the chatzila, we don't kasher it. The dishwasher, the chatzila, again, we don't kasher it. The countertop, if it's formica, it's certainly not kasherable. If it's metal, it is kasherable. Most people don't have metal countertops unless they have a commercial kitchen. If it's granite, then it's not so simple. If it's sealed with a sealant, most of them are. Many of the sealants are not create that the granite is not kasherable anymore. And even if it's made in a way that it's officially kasherable, the stone could be kashered. Even if it's made in a way that could be kashered, it's very, very difficult to do so. And it's certainly on your own. I don't suggest doing it. I don't think it's done in a practical way. If you have somebody coming in, where was I? I got interrupted. What was I talking about? The granite countertop. If you have the granite countertop, all right. If you're doing it on your own, don't do it. If there's somebody coming in, there are these organizations and people that advertise kasher kitchens. If he feels he has a way of doing it that's kosher or Harav, that's to do in such a way, then by all means, then he can do what he wants. But it's better not to kasher your granite countertop. You buy any of these corrugated plastics that they sell, and you cover your countertops. The sinks, the metal sinks, the porcelain enamel, they're not kasherable. You have to buy an insert. Not to discuss. If metal sinks are, again, kasherable, I don't feel there's a way to kasher them in a practical way. Again, there are those that kasher it. If somebody's going to come in and kasher for you, and he has the way that he's doing it in a halachically permissible way, then you can let him do it. If you're doing it on your own, then you should not do it. You should buy yourself an insert and use the sink with the insert. If you're using an insert, by the way, take out the the strainer from the sink and just leave the strainer in the insert. That way, nothing will get trapped underneath. The faucet, the knobs clean very well. The faucet itself, you pour boiling water on top of it, and the chatchila should change the aerator, and I believe that basically covers the kitchen. One couple things on the backsplash. Again, backsplash. I don't know the mechuyev to cover. I think in the place behind the oven where hot food is going to be touching it over there, a person should cover it. Behind the countertop, there is definitely a mokum to be machmir to cover it, because you put hot food on the counter and that can end up touching the backsplash. Those places you should lechatchila cover. If you don't, but I think lechatchila should cover it. I started talking before when I was talking about stuff in the kitchen. I want to mention a couple of things that are usually in the kitchen, like a cell phone. A cell phone is something that has to be kashered very, very well. It should be, when I say kashered, I mean that it should be made sure a whole year round that there's no sa'or shabeisa there. There's no chametz in that cell phone. It means it can't access anything. It should be filtered in a highly filtered way. It should be made sure that it's completely clean from all things that are not kosher. That's a whole year. For Pesach, it's an item that's always put down. It's always put down on the counter. It's always put down near chametz and with chametz. You must clean it very well because it goes near your mouth and it goes down on the counter again on Pesach. Like it went down on the counter before Pesach and a crumb went somewhere in the casing of it or on the foam of it. It will go down on Pesach and sit down on top of the counter and it'll get something chametz onto something that's Pesach taking it and end up eating it. You must clean it very well with a toothpick. I don't know how much of a spritz you want to put onto it unless you're trying to kasher it for a whole year. You take a damn shmata. I don't know how you do it. However you do it, you clean it very well. Your rings definitely have to be cleaned. Something that you're using a whole year with chametz and it's on your hand, you have to make sure it's cleaned very well. I think there's a mokum to even kasher it. Any other types of jewelry that you're wearing, I don't think needs to be cleaned. For Pesach, I don't think that gets involved with chametz. Again, we started talking before about toys. Toys don't have to be cleaned in an extra special way unless it's going to come to the table. If anything that's going to come into the kitchen or onto the table on Pesach, those have to be cleaned with a tachlis as a heater. So you have to make sure there isn't the tiniest crumb left, even if it's not edible, unless it's not edible for a dog. So any toys that you didn't clean it with a cleanser, you can't bring them to the table. Books can't come to the table. Sforim don't have to be cleaned very, very well. You should make sure the shelves in the study don't have crumbs on them, don't have a piece of chametz that you might come to eat on them. But I don't mean crumbs. I meant Cheerios. But a sefer that comes to the table all year round, a chumash that comes to the table all year round, should not come to the table on Pesach unless that's cleaned very, very well to make sure there's no chametz left in them altogether. The handles of the refrigerator has to be washed down with a cleanser very well. Doorknobs should be cleaned well in the kitchen because you touch them in the kitchen and you touch them with your chametz. The garbage can in the kitchen should be cleaned. The broom, it cleans the chametz. And again, I don't even know 100% because it's not going to come back into the food afterwards. But I think the minhag is to get a new broom, or at least to shake it out very, very well before Pesach. I think the minhag is to get a new broom. Vacuum cleaner bags, everybody always reminds everybody to get rid of the vacuum cleaner bags. The car. Okay, the car will leave to your husband. Again, if he has an issue, he should call me. I think that basically does it. Again, I say again. It should be done in a pleasant way. The attitude of the Yom Tov is going to be dependent on the attitude of the mother, not of the father, of the mother, the way she makes Pesach. If I can figure out how to unmute it, I'll try to unmute it now. Star something. Let me see. 1 second. Am I unmuted? No. Let me try star 5. Star 5? No. 10? No, what? Let me hold 1 second. Give me that phone. Let me call. I'll go on mute. 1 second. Hold 1 second. Six. Oh, 609 204. I mean, certainly somebody wants to hang up, they can, but I didn't have to tell you that because you do it anyways. 1 second. Oh, somebody did. Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I think everybody.
Thank you so much. That was so amazing.
It does have one
Tova told you thank you. Thank you from Tashi also.
Okay. If there's any questions.
Yes, I had one question. When you say about covering the stove top with the black and turning on all the flames, should we be using our Pesach stick black or our Chametz stick black?
Doesn't make a difference. As long as it's clean, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
What about house phones? That has to be cleaned very well also, probably.
Same thing. Yes, house phone as well. Yes.
We don't fly like this. What about dish towels? Should we use regular dish towels?
One more time?
Dish towels.
Okay.
Dish towels. Is that black now kosher Pesach? I don't have a Pesach stick black. So once I put the
No. You should not use that black for Pesach. If you use the black the whole year, you should not use it for Pesach.
Okay. And for a pot for koshering, that also needs to be a Pesach stick pot to kosher the thing.
Pot for koshering, usually this is entirely of the shear, but I'll just mention it if you like. The pot for koshering could be either one, but there's a process to it. The best thing to do without going into the process, use a disposable pan. Use a 9x13. Use a deep pan.
Okay.
And that's it, and you're done. You don't have to buy what they make from their mitzvah, the special koshering pot. There's no reason for that. Just use a disposable pan, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to get new dish towels?
I'm sorry?
Dish towels. Do we use our Chametz or we need new dish towels?
Dish towels, again, in most years, you should get new dish towels. If it's the first year you're making Pesach, and the expense is overwhelming, and the difficulties are understood, then you could make sure you wash them well with detergent, and you could use them. But you should have new dish towels.
What about smartas?
Smartas is to have. What's that?
No, smartas. Smartas for the kitchen.
Oh, smartas. Yeah. That you could, if you wash them with the detergent, you could use them.
Hello. Question about paper towels. Can you use regular bouncy paper towels to wipe a piece
yes,
of
you can use regular bouncy towels. It's fine. You use the first three, the last three, the middle three. You can use bouncy paper towels.
It doesn't matter if they're kosher or basic or not?
Just don't finish to have a wound cancer or any of the children. You could use them.
Rabbi, paper towels you could also use with food or just for cleaning?
Yes,
Can you put it under your schnitzel for Pesach?
Yeah. Yes, you can use bouncy. The weird thing that's in there is maybe kittens, and you don't have to use so much from the kittens. It's fine.
Is that any paper towel or specifically bouncy?
I don't remember anymore what they say, but everything is fine.
Okay. What about pails that you use for cleaning your kitchen? You have to get a new pail for Pesach?
No.
The faucet in the kitchen, once you kosher it, do you need to cover it?
One more time?
The faucet in the kitchen, once you kosher it with boiling water, do you have to cover it?
No, you don't, but I understand the chumrah of some of that does. If it's kashed properly with boiling water, then it's okay. But if somebody's not going to cover it, it's understandable.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask about a flower vase? That's normally on a Chametz table. Should not a vase for flowers. That's normally on a Chametz table.
Again, the boss
table.
This goes into the chumras that people have to understand all those chumras. But the halacha, as long as it's cleaned properly and it's made sure that there's absolutely no crumbs or anything, you spritz it with a spritz, then it'll be okay. Somebody's marked with a new vase, with the silver foil on the bottom of his vase. These are chumras that are understandable. The halacha, it's okay though.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.